All right, so let's jump into this deep dive on e-commerce security. Now, you sent over some really fascinating stuff, especially that building customer trust through e-commerce security article and those visuals. It seems like you're really interested in how security can win over those cautious customers and actually help your business grow.
Well, what I find fascinating is that the article highlights that fear factor. You know, that hesitation a customer feels when they're about to buy something online?
Yeah, totally. You're super excited about that product, you have it in your cart, and then, bam, this little voice pops up like, is this site even safe? It's like this little internal battle between, I want this so bad, and wait, is this a total scam?
Exactly. And that tiny moment of doubt, that can cost businesses a fortune. Studies show a huge percentage of shoppers will abandon their carts if they have even the slightest worry about security. They're at the checkout, ready to jump ship at any second.
So it's not just about stopping hackers from stealing data. It's about creating a feeling of safety for the customer.
Absolutely. It's like building a fortress of trust, brick by brick. And one of the most important bricks is that little padlock icon we see next to the website address, the HTTPS.
Right, the HTTPS. It's like a silent guardian, assuring customers that their data is being encrypted and protected.
Yeah.
Like a virtual bouncer at the door, checking IDs, keeping out the riffraff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, that HTTPS is using an SSL certificate to scramble the data being sent between the website and the customer's browser. It's like sending a secret message that only the recipient with the right decoder ring can read.
So if someone's eavesdropping, they can't make sense of the information.
Exactly. Now, getting an SSL certificate, it used to be a big hassle. But these days, it's super easy. And even free in some cases. There's really no excuse for not having it.
Yeah, the article makes a great point about how browsers are getting smarter too. They'll flag sites without HTTPS. Imagine, you're about to buy something, and a big warning pops up saying, danger, this site might be shady. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but I'd be clicking away so fast.
Oh, absolutely. Total red flag. And, you know, we live in a world where data breaches and online scams are constantly in the news. People are on high alert, ready to jump to a competitor who looks more secure.
Okay, so let's say you've got that HTTPS padlock in place. What's the next step in building that fortress of trust, especially when it comes to the actual payment part?
You hit the nail on the head. That payment stage, that's where trust really gets put to the test. Customers want to know their financial info is being handled like precious cargo. It's like choosing a bank. You wouldn't deposit your life savings in a place that looks run down, would you?
Definitely not. I want to see those reinforced steel doors, laser beams protecting the vault.
Exactly. In the online world, that means using trusted payment processors like PayPal, Stripe, or Square. These aren't just random names. They're like the Fort Knox of online payments. They have serious security measures and fraud detection systems that are constantly evolving to stay ahead of the bad guys.
So it's about leveraging the reputation of these established players.
Exactly. It's not just about handling transactions securely. It's about proactively preventing fraud. These platforms are like having security guards scanning for suspicious activity, stopping it before it even gets close to your money, that sense of security. It's priceless for both the customer and the business.
Now, what about businesses that handle credit card information directly?
Well, that's where PCI DSS compliance comes in. It's like a security checklist designed specifically for protecting credit card data. Think of it as the building code for handling sensitive financial information.
So it's not really optional.
Not if you want to keep customer data safe
Right.
and avoid those hefty fines that come with non-compliance.
Right. Okay, so we've got HTTPS to protect data in transit, and these really solid payment processors to handle the transactions. But what about protecting customer accounts from unauthorized access? I mean, passwords can be cracked, right?
Absolutely. Passwords alone, they're just not enough anymore, especially with all the data breaches we hear about these days. That's why multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is becoming so essential.
Okay, so break that down for me. What is MFA? And why is it so much better than just a password?
Okay, imagine this. You're locking your front door, you use your key, but you also add a deadbolt. For that extra security, that's essentially what MFA does. It adds an extra layer of verification on top of your password.
So even if someone gets your password, they still can't get in without that second layer of security.
Exactly. The article gives a great example. After you enter your password, you get a one-time code sent to your phone or email, and you need that code to complete the login. It's like having a security guard double-checking your ID.
Okay, that makes sense. Small step for the user,
Mm-hmm.
but a giant leap for security.
Absolutely. And from a customer's perspective, it shows that you're going the extra mile to protect their accounts. It's like saying, we take your security seriously and we're not cutting corners.
So we've talked about protecting data in transit and securing those payment gateways. But what about the software that powers the e-commerce site itself?
Hmm.
Isn't outdated software a big target for hackers?
Oh, it's a huge vulnerability. Think about it like this. Hackers are constantly searching for cracks in the walls of your digital fortress. Outdated software is like leaving a window wide open, inviting them in.
So keeping everything updated is critical.
Absolutely. We're talking about the CMS, plugins, themes, everything. Hackers are always finding new ways to exploit vulnerabilities. It's a constant game of cat and mouse.
The article actually uses the phrase patching holes in your defenses. I thought that was a great analogy.
It is a good one, but simply installing updates isn't always enough. You also need to be proactive and do what's called a security audit. It's like hiring a professional inspector to check for any weaknesses in your fortress before the enemy finds them.
So like a thorough checkup to make sure everything is secure.
Exactly. You can hire ethical hackers to try and break into your system. This is called penetration testing. Or use automated tools to scan for vulnerabilities. Think of it as giving your online store a security stress test to make sure it can withstand an attack.
And this isn't a one-time thing, is it?
Definitely not. The world of cyber threats, it's constantly evolving. New vulnerabilities are discovered all the time. So you need to stay vigilant and adapt. Security is a journey, not a destination.
Okay, so we've got HTTPS, secure payment options, multi-factor authentication, regular software updates and audits. What else do we need to think about when it comes to building trust through e-commerce security?
Transparency is key. Customers want to know what's happening with their data. They want to feel in control. And that's where a clear and accessible privacy policy comes in. It's like having a transparent window into your security practices.
That makes sense. But so many privacy policies are full of legal jargon. They're buried deep within a website. How can businesses make their policies more user-friendly?
You're right. No one wants to wade through pages of legalese. It's all about being upfront and respectful of your customer's right to know. Imagine your privacy policy as a conversation with your customer, explaining things clearly and honestly. It should answer questions like, what data do you collect? Why do you collect it? How do you protect it? And will you share it with anyone else?
So explaining things in plain English, without all the technical mumbo-jumbo.
Exactly. And it shouldn't be hidden away. Make it easily accessible from your homepage and your checkout page. Think of it as a badge of honor, showing that you have nothing to hide and that you respect your customer's privacy.
Okay, so transparency is essential. What else can businesses do to demonstrate their commitment to security and build that trust with their customers?
Visual cues can be incredibly powerful. Think about trust seals from organizations like Norton or McAfee. They're like those inspected by stickers you see on restaurant windows. They instantly communicate a level of safety and trustworthiness.
So it's about showing, not just telling, that you're taking security seriously.
Exactly. And it's not just about trust seals. Logos from payment processors like Visa and MasterCard, they also reinforce that sense of security. It's like saying, hey, we use the same payment systems that you trust in the real world, so you can feel confident shopping with us online.
And those trust signals are especially important on the checkout page, right? That's where customers are putting in their sensitive information.
Absolutely. It's like having a security guard standing right there, reassuring customers that their data is safe. But remember, these visual cues are most effective when they're backed up by actual security measures. It's not enough to just slap a trust seal on your site and call it a day. You need to have the substance behind the symbol.
It's like putting a fancy lock on a flimsy door. It might look secure, but it won't do much good if someone really wants to break in.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between perception and reality. You want to project an image of trustworthiness, but you also need to have the real security measures in place to back it up.
So it's about walking the walk and talking the talk. You need both to build genuine trust.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, we've covered a lot here, from the psychological impact of security to the actual nuts and bolts of protecting customer data. But I'm curious, if you could wave a magic wand and make one additional security measure industry standard, what would it be and why?
That is a great question. If I had to pick just one, it would be widespread adoption of security key-based authentication. It's more secure and more user-friendly than traditional passwords. And even those SMS-based two-factor authentication systems.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these security keys and why they're such a game changer.
So they're small physical devices that you plug into your computer or connect wirelessly. They use cryptography, which is a super secure way to verify your identity. It's like having a unique digital key, that only you possess.
And why do you think this would be so impactful for e-commerce security?
Because it eliminates the biggest vulnerability we have, passwords. They're easily guessed, stolen, or reused across multiple accounts. But security keys are virtually impossible to hack. They remove that weak link from the chain.
So you're saying if every e-commerce site required customers to use a security key, we'd see a significant reduction in account takeovers and fraud.
I believe so. It would raise the bar for security across the board and force hackers to find new and hopefully more difficult ways to attack. It's all about making it as difficult as possible for the bad guys to succeed.
That's a powerful thought. It really highlights how much potential there is for improving e-commerce security.
And it reinforces the idea that investing in security isn't just about protecting data. It's about protecting your business, your customers,
Right.
and your reputation. It's about building trust and creating a safe and secure environment for everyone.
This has been incredibly eye-opening. We've learned so much about the crucial role of security in building customer trust and driving e-commerce growth, but we're only halfway through our exploration. We'll be back in part 2 to delve even deeper into this topic.
We'll pick up right where we left off and explore even more ways to create a secure and trustworthy online experience for your customers. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into e-commerce security. We spent a lot of time talking about the nuts and bolts of security measures, but I'm curious, how does all of this translate into actual business growth? At the end of the day, it's about more than just feeling safe. It's about seeing tangible results.
You're absolutely right. It's not enough to just talk about security. We need to understand how it impacts the bottom line. And that's where the concept of security as a growth driver comes in.
Okay, I like that. Security as a growth driver. Tell me more.
Well, the article really challenges the idea that security is just a cost. It argues that it's actually an investment that can generate a significant return.
So it's not just about preventing losses. It's about driving profits.
Precisely. Think about it this way. When customers trust a site, they're not only more likely to buy from it, but they're also more likely to become repeat customers and even recommend it to their friends and family.
It's like a chain reaction. Security leads to trust. Trust leads to loyalty. And loyalty leads to growth.
Exactly. And the source material breaks down these benefits into 4 key areas: higher conversion rates, increased customer retention, a stronger reputation, and reduced chargebacks.
Okay, let's unpack those. Starting with conversion rates. How does security actually lead to more sales?
Okay, imagine you're shopping online. You come across 2 similar products on different websites. One site has a professional design, clear security indicators, and a well-written privacy policy. The other site looks a little sketchy, with no visible signs of security, and a hard-to-find privacy policy that's filled with jargon. Which site are you more likely to buy from?
I would definitely go with the site that looks more secure. I wouldn't want to risk my information, my personal information or my financial information on a site that doesn't seem trustworthy.
Exactly, that's the point. When customers feel confident that a site is secure, they're more likely to complete their purchases. They're less likely to hesitate or second-guess themselves.
So it removes those mental roadblocks.
Precisely. And it's not just about attracting new customers, it's also about keeping the ones you already have. That's where customer retention comes in.
Okay, so how does security play into customer loyalty?
Well, think about a time when you had a negative experience with a company. Maybe they had a data breach, or your personal information was mishandled. Would you do business with them again?
Probably not. I'd be pretty hesitant to trust them again after something like that.
Exactly. And that's the thing about trust. It's hard-earned and easily lost, especially online, where there are so many options available.
Right, so if a customer feels like their information isn't safe with a company, they'll just go somewhere else.
Exactly. And they might even tell their friends and family about their bad experience, which can really damage the company's reputation.
Which brings us to that next benefit, a stronger reputation.
Right. Security is crucial for building a strong brand reputation. When you have a reputation for being secure and trustworthy, it attracts customers and builds confidence.
It's like a seal of approval that says, this business takes security seriously. You can trust them.
Exactly. And in today's world, reputation is everything. Word of mouth travels fast online, and negative reviews can spread like wildfire.
So investing in security can actually protect your brand.
Absolutely. And it can also help you stand out from the competition. In a crowded marketplace, security can be a key differentiator.
Yeah, customers are more likely to choose a business that seems more secure.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final benefit: reduced chargebacks.
Okay, remind me what chargebacks are again.
Sure. A chargeback happens when a customer disputes a charge with their bank. It can happen for A lot of reasons, like fraud, unauthorized transactions, or even just dissatisfaction with a product or service.
And chargebacks can be a real pain for businesses.
Oh, they can be. They're time-consuming to deal with, and they can cost businesses money in fees and lost revenue.
So how does security help to reduce chargebacks?
By preventing fraud. When you have strong security measures in place, it makes it much harder for fraudsters to succeed. This means fewer fraudulent transactions, which means fewer chargebacks.
Okay, so it's a win-win for both businesses and customers.
Exactly. Customers are protected from fraud, and businesses are protected from the costs and hassles of dealing with chargebacks.
Okay, so to recap, investing in e-commerce security can lead to higher conversion rates because customers feel more confident buying from a secure site, increased customer retention, because customers are more likely to stick with a business that they trust, a stronger reputation, because security builds trust and credibility, and reduce chargebacks, because strong security measures help to prevent fraud.
That's a great summary, and it all boils down to this. Security is not just a technical necessity. It's a smart business decision.
It's about creating a win-win situation for everyone. Customers get peace of mind, knowing that their information is safe, and businesses get the rewards of increased sales, loyalty, and a positive reputation.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, earlier we talked about trust signals. You know those visual cues that can reassure customers about a site's security? But are those trust seals and certifications really effective? Or are they just a marketing gimmick?
That's a great question. And it's one that a lot of businesses struggle with. The truth is, trust signals can be effective, but they're not a magic bullet.
So it's not enough to just put a trust seal on your website.
Definitely not. You need to have the substance behind the seal, the actual security measures that you're claiming to have in place.
So it's like putting a fancy security system on a house with paper walls.
Exactly. It might look impressive, but it won't actually do much to protect you. So it's important to strike a balance between perception and reality.
How can businesses communicate their security measures effectively?
Yeah.
Without just relying on those trust signals?
Transparency is key. Be upfront with your customers about what you're doing to protect their information. Don't bury your privacy policy in the fine print. Make it easy to find, and write it in plain language that anyone can understand.
So have an open and honest conversation with your customers about security.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to go into detail. The more information you provide, the more confident your customers will feel.
What about educating customers? Can businesses help their customers to be more security savvy?
Absolutely. Empowering your customers to protect their own information. That's a great way to build trust and create a culture of security.
So how can businesses do that?
Share tips on creating strong passwords, recognizing phishing scams, and protecting their devices from malware. You can do this through blog posts, FAQs, email newsletters, or even social media.
So make security information accessible and engaging.
Exactly. The key is to make it relevant and easy to understand.
One final question on this. How often should businesses be talking about security? Is it something that should be mentioned constantly? Or is it better to just address it when there's a specific issue?
Consistency is key. Don't just talk about security when there's a problem or a new feature launch. Make it a regular part of your communication.
So remind customers about your security practices and reassure them that you take their privacy seriously.
Exactly. Make it clear that security is a top priority and that you're always working to improve.
This has been so insightful. We've covered so much, but there's still more to explore. We'll be back in part 3 to talk about the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for e-commerce security.
We'll pick up right where we left off and explore some thought-provoking questions as you navigate the world of online security.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into e-commerce security. We've talked about so much, from that whole psychology of trust to the actual nuts and bolts of keeping customer data safe. But now I kind of want to look ahead a bit.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've talked about the best practices, but the reality is, the world of online security never stands still. What works today might be totally obsolete tomorrow.
Exactly. It's like a constant race to stay ahead of the bad guys.
It is, and those bad guys, they're getting smarter all the time, more resourceful too. One of the biggest challenges for e-commerce businesses is simply keeping up with how fast cybercrime is evolving.
So you can't just set it and forget it. Set up your basic security measures and assume you're good.
Not at all. It's like building a fortress and then forgetting to update the defenses. Hackers are always coming up with new ways to exploit vulnerabilities. Businesses need to be just as agile and innovative in their security approach.
And the article even mentions that hackers are using AI now and machine learning. To launch more sophisticated attacks.
Oh, absolutely. They're using the latest technology to find weaknesses, exploit them, and steal data. So businesses need to fight fire with fire, so to speak. Invest in security solutions that can keep up.
So what does that look like in practice? What can businesses actually do to stay ahead of the curve?
It all starts with a commitment to ongoing learning. Security isn't a one-time fix. It's a continuous process of adapting and improving.
So training employees regularly is key.
Absolutely. Everyone in the company, from the CEO down to the intern, needs to be aware of the latest threats and how to protect that sensitive information. It's a team sport. Everyone needs to be on the same page, working together to defend the fortress.
And it's not just about training. Keeping your software up to date is critical too.
One of the most basic, but most important steps. Think of software updates like patching holes in your armor. Hackers are always looking for those vulnerabilities in old software, so keeping everything patched and updated is essential.
Now, what about security audits? We talked about those earlier. Are those still important with the landscape changing so fast?
More important than ever, regular security audits are like health checkups
How does it work?
and systems. They help you find weaknesses before the hackers do. You get a chance to fix problems before they become a big breach.
So it's about being proactive.
Exactly. Don't wait for something bad to happen. Be proactive, stay vigilant, always be on the lookout for ways to improve your defenses.
Okay, so staying ahead of the curve is a big challenge. What else is coming down the line for e-commerce security?
Well, another big challenge is simply how complex the e-commerce ecosystem is becoming.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about all the different tools and services that most online businesses use. Payment processors, shipping providers, marketing platforms, customer support tools, social media integrations. The list goes on.
So many moving parts.
Right, it's like this giant web of interconnected systems, and every connection, it's a potential vulnerability. Even if your own website is super secure, you're still at risk if one of your partners has a security slip-up.
A chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to choose your partners carefully. Don't just go with the cheapest or most convenient option. Do your research. Ask them some tough questions about their security. Make sure they're up to your standards.
And it's not just about choosing the right partners, it's also about managing those relationships.
Oh, for sure. Have clear agreements about security. Outline everyone's roles and responsibilities. Make sure you have communication protocols set up so that everyone knows what to do if there is a security incident.
So a collaborative approach.
Exactly. Security is a shared responsibility.
Okay, so we've got the challenge of keeping up with innovation and the challenge of managing this really complex ecosystem. What other hurdles are e-commerce businesses facing with security?
Well, the rise of these really sophisticated cyber attacks is a big one.
What makes these attacks so sophisticated? How are they different from what we've seen in the past?
Hackers are getting really good at deception. They use social engineering tactics to trick employees into giving up information. They're creating phishing scams that look so real, it's hard to tell they're fake.
So it's not just about brute force anymore, it's more about psychology.
Exactly. Hackers are realizing that it's often easier to trick a person than it is to hack a system. They're using emotions, fear, curiosity, even trust.
And those attacks can be really effective.
Unfortunately, yes. We've seen so many examples. Big companies, small companies, falling victim to these sophisticated attacks.
It really shows that security isn't just about technology, it's about people too.
Right. Having the right technology is important, but it's not enough. You need well-trained employees who understand the risks, and you need strong security protocols.
It's about creating that culture of security.
Exactly. Everyone needs to own it.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but what about the opportunities? Are there any bright spots out there?
Oh, absolutely. One of the most promising things I see is just a growing awareness of how important cybersecurity is. More businesses are realizing they can't afford to ignore it.
I guess seeing all those headlines about breaches and attacks, it really drives home the point that it could happen to anyone.
Exactly. And that's leading to more investment in security. Businesses are willing to spend money to protect their assets and their customers.
It's a growing market.
It is, which creates opportunities for businesses that can provide security solutions. It's also a chance for businesses to set themselves apart by really highlighting their security practices.
Yeah, I think customers are getting savvier about security.
They are. They want to feel confident that a business is going to protect their data.
So security is becoming a selling point.
It really is. It's not just a technical requirement anymore. It's a way to stand out.
Another opportunity I see is the rise of new technologies that can actually help improve security.
Like what, for example?
Well, artificial intelligence and machine learning, they're showing a lot of promise.
Yeah, they can analyze huge amounts of data, spot attacks, much faster than a human ever could.
Right. They can see patterns, anomalies that might mean there's a threat, and then they can block it before any damage is done.
I think AI and machine learning, they're going to be huge in cybersecurity.
And what about blockchain? That can be used to create secure records of transactions.
Right. Prevent fraud. It can even help with digital identities.
So lots of exciting new technologies out there.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see where things go from here.
Wow, this has been a really incredible deep dive. We've covered so much ground,
It really has.
from the psychology of trust to the actual mechanics of security, the challenges businesses face,
Yeah.
and the opportunities that are out there.
It's been great exploring all this with you.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that security is not just a tech issue. It's a business issue. It's a customer issue. And it's a societal issue.
I think that's a great way to put it. We all have a role to play in making the internet a safer place.
Thank you so much for being here. This has been so insightful.
It was my pleasure. And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you some valuable information and helped you understand the world of e-commerce security a little better. Remember, security is a journey, not a destination. So stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay ahead of the curve.